Juan Soto's the Met, and the Giants lose again. Welcome back to the Everything New York Giants podcast with New York Giants fangirl. I'm your host, Adrianna. Hope you guys had a great weekend. If you're a Mets fan, you had an especially great weekend. Us Yankees fans are feeling all sorts of way. But first, we're going to talk about the Giants versus Saints, and then we'll talk a little bit about Yanks Mets Juan Soto situation and what kind of is going to happen from here. So starting with the Giants Saints game, the good news is I got a Frank Gifford bobblehead. So that's cool. The Giants lost again, to the Saints, which was to be expected going into the game. What I didn't expect after preaching for a week straight to take the overs on Alvin Kamara, which is exactly what I did. I took the Saints to win. I took the Saints to cover the 9.5 point spread on FanDuel. It was 5 on DraftKings. I took it on there too. I took 80 plus rushing yards for Kamara. I took 90 plus rushing yards for Kamara. I took 125 plus combined rushing and receiving yards. Fail, because for one day, the Giants defense, who was filled with a bunch of practice squad players that no one's ever heard of, that the Giants literally added less than 24 hours before the game started, decided that not only do they know how to play football, but that they were going to stop the run better than what this Giants team has done for the last 12 games. So that was not expected in any way, shape, or form. I was just absolutely baffled. And I will say it was a beautiful day. The tailgate was fun. Brandon London came over. We took shots. We had a hell of a lot of really good food, and the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day, great crowd. And there were more people at the game than I expected there to be. Was it relatively empty? 100%. But I thought that it was going to be completely empty. And I have to say, I know that at this point in the season, obviously we want to be going to games. We want to be rooting for a team that's winning. But these last few games that I have been to have been a real joy because I hit no traffic going in and out of the stadium. I can park right near the exit. I can have a great time at the tailgate because there's still a bunch of people there. I don't have to wait in line for 20 minutes to get into the stadium. I get my bobblehead without any issue. I'm like, I know this isn't what it's supposed to be, but I might actually go to the Colts game because I can probably pay $10 all in with a ticket and a parking pass to go to the game. I won't hit any traffic. And if the sun's out, there are worse ways to spend a Sunday. And this game was competitive. We lost by a field goal. And the thing that is so Giants, just so Giants, was the field goal that gets called back to a penalty, and then the touchdown or the return for a touchdown that also got called back for a penalty. So we're going to talk about all of those things. But first, I want to talk about the little bit of pros. Nick Volato tweeted out this, which I thought was great. According to NFL Pro, Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Malik Neighbors are the first pair of rookies to each average more than 65 scrimmage yards per game since Reggie Bush and Marcus Colston with the 2006 Saints, which was a minimum. They had to play a minimum of 10 games. So, there's little good things that are coming out of this. The highest graded Giants in week 14, according to PFF, were Thibodeau, 83.8, JMS, which is with a 79.5, Trey Hawkins, 79.3, Greg Van Roten, 78.5, and Micah McFadden, 77.7. So with that being said, I want to go into the stats a little bit because, the defense was just insane. First turnover since week 1 by Trey Hawkins, who everyone expected to get the interception. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I don't like Shane Bowen as a coordinator. I think we all agree on this. He's not a very good coordinator. But the fact that players coming off the street literally made more plays and were more impressive than guys who have been on this roster and who played the first 11 or 12 weeks of the season is insane behavior. And I think a lot of it is, I don't know how much credit to give these guys versus the coaching staff, right? You have to give the coaching staff a little bit of credit because they were semi-prepared to go in there and know what they were doing. But I think also a lot of it is this mentality that this might be their only opportunity to play football. And I think that some of the veterans on this team, and I have no confirmation of this, it's just a vibe that I'm getting, that some of the veterans on this team are over it. And look, part of me understands, right? If you're on a long-term deal, which 41 out of 53 of the players on this roster are, and you're working your ass off week in and week out, and you're 2-11. Like, I understand the frustration. I do. But you are setting an example for young guys. Like, do not be a Tay Banks or a Adoree Jackson who are taking plays off and looking lazy out there when you can be a Brian Burns who went from the Panthers, who are now a better team than the Giants. He went from that shit ass team to this shit ass team, thinking I'm going to a team that's better and, I'm finally going to win some games. And it's not going that way. And you know what he's not doing is being a lazy ass on and off the field. And I really, really appreciate that about him. And I know that there's been, throughout this whole year, there's been talks about Brian Burns that, where is he? He's not showing up on the field and blah, 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 whatever. I give him so much more credit than the majority of players on this team, because not only does he give a shit, but he shows that he gives a shit week in and week out. And he works really hard, and he's not taking plays off, and he's playing 99% of the snaps, and he's playing hurt. So he's been dealing with injuries week in and week out. And anyway, Brian Burns appreciation. I think that, guys like him and Dexter Lawrence should be the backbone of this team, should be the leaders of the team, who not only are verbal leaders, but are leaders in their actions. And I just will say that I really appreciate that about them. So we're going to do something different today, and we're going to talk about the defense. So first, this defense had 13 tackles for loss. 13, which is insane and unheard of, especially again with this defense that we have been talking about for weeks, who quite frankly sucks big time. So like a really great game out of a lot of players on this team, one of them being Micah McFadden, who led the team with 11 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. And he's going to be, I think, one of those players that when we talk about that draft class that he was in for a 3rd round pick, I mean, incredible. And listen, he still has missed tackles here and there, but he's done a really nice job. And it seems like this defense as a whole, again, decided that they were going to be better tacklers this week and shut down Alvin Kamara. Not on my bingo card. So anyway, I give a lot of those players a lot of credit. So McFadden had a great game. Darius Muasau had 8 tackles. Hawkins and Pinnock each had 6. Newbin 5. Elijah Garcia, literally never heard of him until yesterday. Zane Belton, 5 tackles each. Brian Burns and Tibbs both had really nice games. Burns 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. Thibodeau, very similar stats: 3 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. So I will give Thibodeau credit too. He also had a great game yesterday, and he's a guy that, we definitely missed when he was on IR dealing with a wrist injury, but having him back, and, I have more faith in him now and in what him and Burns can do. So I just get us a new defensive coordinator next year, and a better corner and a better defensive tackle. And maybe this defense will be better. Give me some hope that we've got some of the pieces there. And, maybe next year our defense will be better and our defensive line will be better, and we'll be able to consistently stop the run on a more regular basis. So I would really appreciate that out of this defense. So a couple other guys who had tackles for loss: Adoree Jackson, Corey Durden, Elijah Chapman, Jordan Riley. So great game for those guys. This week they had 3 pass deflections as opposed to 9 against the Cowboys. 3 pass deflections and 1 interception, which again, when you hit 9 against the Cowboys, you couldn't get a single one. Not one. Nope. But it's okay. Props to Trey Hawkins. Great work on that. Again, Smith Marset, great work returning for a touchdown, but this team cannot escape each other. And 2 good things cannot happen in a row. This is what happens. Things get called back. And then Graham Gano went 1 for 2, obviously on the field goal. The game ends with the field goal getting blocked, and no extra points because they went for 2, which they did do successfully, which was nice to see. It was a disaster of a play, but Malik Neighbors, smart, had his eyes focused, paid attention, and was able to come down with the ball after it was tipped. So good work on that, I suppose. All right, let's get to the offense. True Lock. Listen, it's not all him, okay? Does he hold on to the ball for too long? Does he make bad throws? Yes to both of those things. Does he not know how to run in a straight line? Also, apparently a thing, which we saw him do it really nicely against the Cowboys, but then on Sunday against the Saints, he decided he wasn't going to go straight. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't, but watching the replay on that over and over, I was like, this is the Giants season in a nutshell. It's like I said, they cannot do two good things in a row, and there is an opportunity to make a play and they just decide, no, I'm going to veer off course and do the wrong thing. So that's the Giants for you this year, especially. So with that being said, Drew Lock, 21 for 49, 227 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Sacked twice for 14 yards. Drew had 5 carries for 59 yards. Tracy, 16 for 45 and 1 touchdown. And then Singletary, 2 for 8. So Tyron Tracy, again, one of the bright spots on this team, him and Neighbors, at least we have something to kind of be excited about. And I have to be honest, I really didn't think that Neighbors was going to play that much during this game. There were parts where after he got tackled or after he went down, I was like, oh my God, he's toast. And I was relieved to see him get back up. But I also was like, I know that you guys are trying to win this, but maybe let's just not play Malik Neighbors so we don't have to worry about him getting injured into next year. And we also already have to worry about Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence, who are 2 of the most important players on this team. Let's not add Malik Neighbors to that list, please. I'm begging you. So speaking of, Neighbors led the receivers out of 10 targets, 5 receptions for 79 yards. Bellinger out of 7 targets, 5 receptions for 45 yards. Bellinger, I was like, this is what I want to see. Okay. What I also couldn't understand is with the absurd offensive line that they went into this game with, the tackle situation with Azudu and Neal, you would think that maybe they would have Manhurts out there blocking a lot. Nope, let's not do that, because why would we do that as the Giants? Why would we ever do something that makes sense? So instead, we're going to use Bellinger as a receiver, which I have no problem with. Daniel Bellinger's best year as a Giant was his first year when he was a receiver, and he actually did quite well, which is why so many of us were excited about his future with the Giants. And also we're excited about Theo Johnson, thinking, okay, they used Bellinger as a receiver so much his rookie year. We're going to do the same thing with Theo Johnson, which they kind of did, and then he got injured, which also sucks. Need him to come back healthy for next year. But Bellinger's a guy that I really like, and I was glad to see him make some plays yesterday, because we have all been begging to see more from our tight ends, especially the bigger tight ends like him and Theo, who are good targets for whoever the quarterback is. Wandale out of 11 targets, 4 receptions for 38 yards. Tracy, 5 for 10 for 38 yards. Slayton, 2 for 6 for 27. And Jalen Hyatt, over 2 for 0 yards. So 21 receptions for 227 yards, not 270, for the receivers. Can these receivers catch the ball? It's every single one of them misses balls that they are supposed to catch. And I say this week in and week out. I am not talking about the balls that Drew Lock or Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito or Tim Boyle at this point wildly overthrows or throws them at their feet. Okay, don't expect anyone to make those types of catches. You have to come down with the ball when it's in your hands. And it's beyond frustrating to me that week 14, this is still a problem. And we're going to talk about the coaching probably the whole off season, because at this rate, I don't know, they're probably all going to be back. I don't know what's going to happen, but you have to do something about drills, how the practices are run, who the coaches are, because you cannot have every single wide receiver. I'm not talking about just Jalen Hyatt, who was a 3rd-round draft pick who barely sees the field. And when he does see the field, he never makes plays. Fine. He is one thing. Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson, Darius Slayton, the guys who are the top 3 wide receivers on this team, catch the goddamn ball. That's the first thing that you're supposed to do. That is what you were on this team to do. It drives me insane. And, I'm listening to Dable's presser and he's like so dejected and seems so disappointed and blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm just like, I just feel like he brings a lot of this on himself. And that is the stuff that drives me insane. Like, you are the reason why this team has so many penalties. They are undisciplined. It is your fault. There is no discipline, that there is no preparedness with this team. Let me just talk about the penalties for a second, okay? Let me pull this up. The Giants had 12 penalties for 112 yards. That is the second week in a row that they had double-digit penalties. We are almost done with the season, okay? It is not week 2. It is not week 1 where they had, 8 penalties, and that was disgusting in week 1, and now we're in week 14, and it's worse. It's worse than week 1. It is embarrassing behavior, embarrassing, and it's pathetic. And you do it at home, and you're 0-7 at home this season. You can't win a home game, which at this point, everyone was cheering when the field goal got blocked because we don't even care about winning at home anymore because all we care about is a draft pick. And we think it's hysterical that someone used their own disposable income to pay for a plane to circle around MetLife Stadium with a banner that said, "Please fix this, Mr. Mara, please fix this dumpster fire." That is where we're at. That is where we're at. We don't care about winning. Was it fun to watch the game be competitive? Yeah, it was a hell of a lot more fun instead of watching a team get blown out like they did against the Bucs. I'd rather see them be competitive. But the penalties, it's at the point where, how can you look at this coaching staff and say, I want you all to come back next year? They are part of the reason why we have been losing games week in and week out since week 1. And we can talk about the fact that I understand they're missing a lot of their starters. I get it. But when you have young guys who come in and play better than the starters, it doesn't matter to me that they're young players. They are not always the ones getting the penalties. You have veterans on this team who are repeatedly getting penalties. Kayvon had 3 of them against the Cowboys. Van Roen had one. I don't even know who all the penalties were against. Guys on special teams that negated 2 of them on special teams that negated the return for a touchdown and the field goal, which would have had the game tied and maybe would have went to overtime. I don't know. It just really makes you question the coaching staff at this point. And when all of us are focused on the future, how could you ever think I want to see this coaching staff come back? And outside of that, what faith do you have that Dable, this quarterback whisperer who Josh Allen is Josh Allen, he's doing just fine without Dable. Tua and Jalen Hurts, the other quarterback that he's worked with, not amazing. So I don't know. I lose faith in the coaching staff day in and day out at this point. And I think that's what's most disappointing to me, because I think a lot of the issues that the team has can be fixed, and they will be fixed. Number 1, with better talent. Number 2, with better coaching. But if we get better talent, I am worried that the coaching staff is going to ruin them, because I think that's what's happening. A lot of these players are regressing. They are worse now than when they came to this team. They are worse now than where they were a year ago or 2 years ago. And that is very concerning to me. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. Is Mike Vrabel the answer? Or maybe is Bill Belichick the answer? Probably not. Looks like he's going to UNC, which honestly, I hope he does, so we can just file one name out of the issue here. But it's just, I don't know. It's just wild to me at this point. And I don't know what the future is. I don't know how they're going to fix it. What I will say is March and April are going to be very exciting months for all of us as Giants fans. We have that going for us. What we also have going for us is that with 4 weeks left in the season, we have the number 2 overall pick. So that is great news. We'll obviously see how the next 4 weeks go, but we're getting there, right? 1 week at a time, we get a little bit closer to our goal of getting the first overall pick. And then before you know it, we're going to be doing mock drafts, but not yet. Let's switch gears and talk baseball, because obviously there was some very exciting news for Mets fans that came out last night. Juan Soto signed a 15-year deal with the Mets for $765 million. That is insane. Literally insane. I cannot even fathom $765 million. And from what I understand, the Yankees, it was between the Yankees and the Mets. The final deal that the Yankees came in at was 760 for 14 years, supposedly. Um, and we all know Scott Boras. We know who he is, and we know what he's after. And he did it with A-Rod, and he did it with, I think, Bryce Harper. And it's always about the money. He's going to be the guy who brings in the best deal, the, history-making deal. And I think the Yankees just got to the point where they said, I hope that they said, well, we have a lot of other things that we have to fix. So, we can't put all our eggs in one basket, which would I have liked Juan Soto? Of course. I really would have. I think he made a big difference on this team. But the Yankees also made it to the World Series with Juan Soto. And it's amazing that they made it to the World Series, but they blew it because of other issues. So they have other things that they have to fix. One of them is they got rid of Clay Holmes, who went to the Mets. So good luck to Mets fans with that. It sounds like they're going to switch him to a starter, which is absolutely the right move because God knows he's not a closer. Double-digit blown saves. So don't make that mistake like the Yankees did, just fixing everyone's problems over here. What not to do with Clay Holmes and what to do with Juan Soto. Just give him every dollar that you have. But I think it came close. I understand these guys are about the money. I don't fault them at all for that. I think it's hard for normal people like us to fathom $765 million to one person over 15 years. It's literally insane. It's kind of disgusting when you think about it. Like, you just have that much money to give to one person, and there are, so many other issues going on, but that's another conversation for another day. So yeah, congrats to Mets fans. I know that they are very excited about this, as you should be. I also heard that there's an out after year 5, which I think is wild, but we will see if that is truly the case. I think obviously over the next couple of days, we're going to get a lot more, things that come out, especially once the winter meetings are complete. So winter meetings are going on till Wednesday, and there are more things that I'm sure, again, like we'll hear over the next couple of weeks. So for the Yankees, they have spoken with Corbin Burns. They've spoken with Max Fried. It sounds like Max Fried has the Yankees at the top, partially the top of his list. So if I were the Yankees, I think that's a deal that I would do. Also, another name to watch is going to be Pete Alonso. I don't know if the Mets are going to have any money left to sign anyone else after Juan Soto, but Steve Cohen has a shitload of money, obviously. So we'll see what the Mets continue to do over the next few weeks. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm curious to see how Cashman comes back from this, what type of moves he makes for the Yankees. Like I said, I would do Max Fried. I would also consider Corbin Burns and, some other names that are going to be out there. What I will say about the Juan Soto deal is I'm glad that it's done and that we can all move forward from it, because we don't need this to take 3 months and then, other players are available as free agents and you can't make other moves because you're still waiting on Juan Soto. So I think that's one of the best things that came out of this, is that it's done and we can all move forward. And if you're a Yankees fan like me, it is what it is. We don't have Juan Soto for the next 15 years. So Cashman better get on the horn and make a hell of a lot of other moves, because if you were planning to give Juan Soto for $760 million, you got a shitload of money that you can spend on other people. And it's very obvious, having watched this team play baseball, that there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, starting with the pitching rotation. Next up is the at-bats and then the defense. So fix it, Hal and Brian. Okay. That's it for this week, you guys. That's it for now. Not the Yankees. We're going to switch gears to the Giants because they take on the Ravens on Sunday. And am I still going to take all the overs on Derrick Henry? You bet your ass I did. Because if you think that I have any faith that this team is going to do what they did 2 weeks in a row, you must be delusional, because I certainly don't have any faith that they could do anything 2 weeks in a row except suck, which they are on a 9-game losing streak. So that's one thing that they can do for 9 weeks in a row, is suck and lose the game. So I will not be at that game. What I am going to do is live stream. So I will be here on YouTube, live streaming the game. If you don't want to watch the Giants game and you don't want to hear about Giants Ravens, join me anyway. You can submit your questions for anything. We will talk all sorts of things. We could talk about Christmas gifts. We could talk about Yankees, Mets. We could talk baseball. We could talk The only thing we're not going to talk is basketball because I don't know anything about basketball, but whatever else you guys want to talk about, join me Sunday at 1 p.m. here on YouTube. I will post the link as it gets sooner and remind you later in the week. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at New York Giants Fangirl, where there will be updates all week, and we will get some more injury updates. As of right now, Drew Lock is getting an MRI, but he's still the starter according to Dable, assuming he's healthy. So back on Thursday with an injury update, and then we will talk Giants versus Ravens on Sunday. Thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend. I'll be back on Thursday. Go Giants.